All right, everyone. So thank you all so much for stopping by. This is Government 2305. For those of you all who are not aware, this is an online synchronous class where we are going to have regular class meetings. The class meetings run from about 1 to 2. The times they're on the syllabus and all that stuff. Um, so do understand that's the type of online class that we have here. So definitely do try to make it to the meetings. If for some reason things come up and if you've got like an emergency or something like that, that's totally fine, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the record button so that way you all can get the recordings if you need to watch it later, whether if something came up or for some reason or if you want to watch it again, if you want to listen to it again, maybe to help you all as you all are studying, you're more than welcome to do so as well. They're going to be there for you all. I do also understand that some of you all had signed up for another online class and then that got moved last minute. So I understand that there might be some situations where people might not necessarily be able to come to all the meetings. I mean, we are going to be meeting, right? And I definitely do expect for you all to be here. But I understand that there's some other circumstances, and things like that. Plus, I think most of you all are used to like the online asynchronous, right? Where you're kind of just online on your own time, so to speak. But even in those classes, which I've taught a lot of those classes, even in those classes, I still have these types of meetings because I feel that it's important to meet with online students. Let me ask you all this question really quickly. Have any of you all ever taken online classes before, or for some people, is this you all's first time taking an online class? I'm sure you all have taken online classes, right? Especially in the last couple of years because of the COVID pandemic. Pretty much everyone has taken online classes now. I'm taking online graduate classes myself. I'm working on some psychology graduate hours at Angelo State, and our class just started yesterday. So I'm there with you all. I'm also taking online classes as well. So I do understand. Um, I understand that online classes can be a little bit scary. They can be a little bit nerve-wracking because um, like I'll just share with you all a personal story from my own class that started yesterday. So the professor already assigned something for us to complete yesterday, and some of us couldn't find it, and we were trying to contact the professor, and yeah, there was like a technical issue or things like that. So I understand completely how that is. I understand that because we're not meeting in person, it might be difficult to kind of, you might feel like you're kind of left on your own, but I want you all to feel that you're not on your own. We are going to have these class meetings. Some of you all have already emailed me, and that's good. If you all are asking questions. Um, so definitely, I'm going to do my best to not be a ghost in this class. I've taken online classes where like the professor never emailed us or talked to us or anything like that. So at the end of the day, you kind of feel like, well, what do I need the professor for? That's what I was thinking. When I've taken class like that. And I'm sure some of y'all may have taken classes like that as well. But let me assure you all, this class is not like that. There will be interaction. Like I said, we're going to be having these meetings on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'll definitely, you can definitely reach out to me during my office hours. My virtual office hours are right after this class. So if you want to wait around and ask questions, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm available. Um, but yeah, so I definitely want for you all to feel like, I want you all to feel safe knowing that I know how online classes work. I've taught online classes for several years. I've taken online classes. I've experienced what works and what doesn't work. And so I'm going to try to do my best to ensure that the class is streamlined, that every week is going to look the same. It's going to be the same type of modules, the same type of requirements in terms of assignments. There's not going to be any curveballs or anything like that. The only thing, of course, obviously, it's going to change from week to week is the content. But in terms of the way the content is presented, the way that the class layout looks, everything's going to look exactly the same from week to week. Okay, so I just want for y'all to kind of get a sense for that. So what we're going to do today, everyone, is, of course, obviously, first, I also want to ask you all if any of y'all have any questions. But what we're going to do today is we're not going to get into any content today. We're just going to cover the syllabus really quickly, and then I'm going to walk you all through in terms of how the Blackboard class looks. Because another thing I've noticed is that every professor is different in terms of how they have their class layouts. The class that I'm taking right now, the layout is a little bit confusing. So even professors with PhDs have trouble crafting online classes that that are pretty accessible for students. So it's something that we're still kind of working with. And I know you all probably see that as well, right? From maybe some of you all are taking online classes with other professors. You probably see that, hey, maybe their layouts are, maybe they're better than mine, or they're not as good, but just know that we're all working to try to improve that. That's something that they're really like training us on. And so it's just kind of something that we're trying to get better at. But I feel like I've tried to do a good job in terms of having those consistent class layouts and things like that. But anyway, okay, so enough talking for me. So let me ask you all really quickly. Does anyone have any questions? Is there anything that's really pressing, like any emergency questions, anything that you all like are like really needing to ask me? Is there anything that I can answer for you all right now before we delve into the syllabus and the class layout? Is there anything that I can help you? Okay, Angel says no questions. Okay, okay, that's good. That means I didn't screw up anything in the Blackboard system. Okay. All right, sounds good. Okay, so then let's go ahead and what we're gonna do. Let me go ahead and share the screen right here. And first off, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the syllabus. Okay, Elda asked attendance is mandatory. Okay, so let me kind of reiterate that again. Now, as I was saying a little while ago, this is an online synchronous class, so the expectation is that you all do need to be here, right? Now, do I take attendance for a grade? No. Some professors do, I don't. So the expectation is that you all are going to be here. But again, I understand if things come up. I understand that some of you all, like I said, were in the online asynchronous class and then you kind of moved over here. I get that. So sometimes that happens where they move the classes at the very last minute. It's a complicated situation. If we had more time, I could explain why that happens. But the point is that there's some other things that are going on, right? And of course, some of you all also are not quite used to taking synchronous classes. I mean, I don't think anyone in here has taken one before, right? Have any of you all taken an online synchronous class before, or because they don't? Yeah, this is new. STC. This is a very new. It's not a new concept because I've taken online synchronous classes at other universities. Like I took some grad school classes at Sam Houston State a couple years ago, and those were online synchronous. I'm going to start a doctorate in the fall. That is also online synchronous. So it's not a new concept, but it is new to STC. Like STC is kind of experimenting with this, right? So I understand that some of y'all might not have been aware of what an online synchronous class is because it's really new. So with all that being said, there's a lot of circumstances and there's a lot of there's a lot of things going on. So with that being said, what I'm trying to say is that I'm not going to hold it all again. I'm not going to hold it against you all if you're not able to come every day. Okay. Try to come as often as you can. The expectation is that you all do need to come, and plus, like I said, it's going to be very helpful. I mentioned just right now, right, that even my online asynchronous class, I have these types of meetings as well, and I get pretty good participation here, and so it's meant for y'all's benefit. Okay. But like I said, if for whatever reason you can't show up, I mean, because look, there's only what, like 6 of us, no, 7 of us, including myself. So that's still several more students that are still missing. So again, I understand that this is something that is relatively new for everyone. So just try to be here as often as you can. If you can't, the recordings will be there for you all. Hopefully it doesn't happen where like nobody shows up and then we can't have a class meeting. I taught an online synchronous class last semester and that did happen a couple of times. So please, hopefully at least a few people show up and then that way we can have class. But with that being said, yeah, don't worry about the attendance is not going to count against you all here. Okay, other questions. Let's see, any other questions? Okay, so that kind of makes sense in terms of how it'll be. Okay, sounds good. Okay, then let's go ahead and move on to the syllabus here. Yeah, I just had another student email me. It's been hectic with all the beginning of the semester is always hectic with all the questions and all that stuff. Everyone's just kind of getting settled in there. Okay, all right, so let me go ahead and share my screen here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share you all the syllabus right here. So you all should be able to see the syllabus, right? Okay, so this is our syllabus for our class here, Federal Government 2305. Let me just make sure you all saw it, right? Okay, you all can see it. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so of course these are the class meetings, 1 to 2:15. This is going to be on Mondays and Wednesdays. So obviously, of course, we were out Monday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so we didn't have class on Monday. which actually is perfect, because that way this week we can just focus on intro, we can just focus on the syllabus, we can focus on the class setup and kind of walking you all through in terms of how the class is. So that's totally fine. We'll start fresh on Monday with chapter 1 here. Okay, so now we're not going to go through all of this word for word, because there's a lot of stuff in here that you all can kind of read through on your own. Uh, this isn't. There's a lot of stuff in here that we don't, we don't necessarily have to cover like too in depth as a class. What we're going to focus on today is for sure the grading policies. Because let me ask you all this question, and I do this myself. I did this yesterday when I accessed my online psychology class. When you all look at the syllabus, is anybody guilty? And like I said, I'm guilty of this too. Is anybody guilty of just scrolling all the way down um, until you get to here? Is this where everyone goes to first, or am I the only one that does this? Is this where everyone goes to first? The grading? Let me see. Let me see. Yes, yes, right, exactly. I think we're all students,
Absolutely.
right? We're all the same. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Absolutely guilty of doing that. I need to know
Yes,
how I'm
no,
going to grade it.
no worries. I do that too. Yeah, good, sure. Yeah, it's nice to know where you're at, but this is what everyone looks to first, right? Because everybody's different, right? Everybody grades differently. Everybody has different requirements. So yeah, don't worry. I'm guilty of that too. That's the first thing I look at. Okay, what do I have to do? What do I have to turn in? And things like that. So we'll definitely get to this, right? This is where we're going to focus on today. Um, but let's kind of start here in order, and then we'll make ourselves that way, because this is also really important information. Anyway, so the course description, again, this is, if you could sum up government 2305 in one sentence, this is what it would be. This course covers the origin and development of the U.S. Constitution, structure and powers of the national government, including the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, federalism, political participation, the national election process, public policy, civil liberties, and civil rights. Now, a lot of this stuff might not be too familiar to you all. I think some of y'all probably heard of some of this stuff, because I know you all have taken government like in high school and things like that. So some of this stuff might be somewhat familiar to you all. But what we're going to do in this class is we're going to go into greater detail on all of these important concepts here. So if some of this stuff does not make sense to you all, that's okay. If we scroll on down to the course learning outcomes, these go a little bit more into detail, right? Explain the origin and development of a constitutional democracy in the United States, demonstrate knowledge of the federal system, describe separation of powers and checks and balances in both theory and practice, demonstrate knowledge of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of the federal government, evaluate the role of public opinion, interest groups, and political parties in the political system, analyze the election process, describe the rights and responsibilities of citizens, and analyze issues and policies in U.S. politics, right? So again, if this stuff does not make sense to you all, that's okay, because that's what we're going to learn in this class, right? By the end of this class, you should know all of this, right? You should have a much clearer understanding of these course learning outcomes here, right? You should be able to understand, you should be able to explain the origin and development of a constitutional democracy in the United States. We're going to be talking about that in the first two chapters, in chapters 1 and 2. We're going to, chapter 1 is going to discuss, it's basically the intro chapter. We're going to be discussing some very important key terms like what is a democracy, what is government, right? All of those textbook definitions. Then of course we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at the federal system in chapter 2. We're going to take a look at what are separation of powers and checks and balances. Why is that so important? Why is that pretty much the hallmark of our American federal government system, right? And how we also see separation of powers and checks and balances even in state government. Now that's for government 2306, which you'll learn more about that when you do take government 2306. But for now, we're going to focus more on the federal side here. Knowing what the three branches of government are, not just knowing what they are, but also what they do. Later on in this class, towards the end of the semester, we are going to have chapters devoted specifically for these three branches. There is a chapter that deals with Congress, which is within the legislative branch. There's a chapter that deals with the presidency, the executive branch. There's a chapter that deals with the federal courts, including the Supreme Court. I don't know if you all are familiar with this, but in graduate school, there are actual classes. No, even in undergrad, there are some classes that are specifically where all they do is they talk about Congress. There's a class on Congress. There's a class on the presidency. There's a class on the federal courts. So I've taken some of these classes, and they're all very interesting where you go more into detail. So unfortunately, we can't devote too much time to all those, right? This is just this is like an intro class, right? Where you you get a very, very broad overview of these branches, right? So I just wanted to just share that with you all, that there are classes devoted to each individual branch in, if you wanted to go on to major in political science, like at a university, or study it in grad school, they have those classes specifically devoted to those. I mean, there's classes devoted to all of this, right? There's classes devoted to political parties. There's classes devoted to interest groups and public opinion. So again, we're just going to scratch the surface on this for this class. Um, and of course, we definitely are going to look at, some current events. I don't know if you all been keeping up with what's been going on in the House right now, because we just had a new Congress that was sworn in, because we had just had a midterm election where the Republicans were able to take back control of the House. So there's a lot of reshuffling going on. You've probably seen the memes about McCarthy, right? And how many votes it took for him to finally become speaker, right? So we'll talk about some of that stuff, right? We'll talk about some of that good, interesting stuff that's going on. And now President Biden's in trouble now because of, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now, right? And things like that. So we'll take a look at all that stuff. We'll take a look at all that stuff as we discuss here. So okay, let's kind of scroll up here a little bit. Now let's get to the contact information, and then after this, we'll get to the how you're going to be graded. Okay, so this is my contact information, everyone. So best way to go to get a hold of me is email, because I'm not going to be in my office too much this semester, because let me show you all what my schedule is. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm out in the field. I don't know if any of y'all knew this, but a lot of us, I think all of us do, we all have to go to the high schools to teach college classes out there. I don't know if you all knew this, that the high schools are really, really ramping up their efforts to offer their students college classes. This is something that just barely started when I was in high school about 20 years ago, but now it's exploded, right? It's gotten really, really big, where a lot of students in high school are getting college hours, and they're even graduating with associate's degrees. In fact, let me show you all a really quick story really quickly, or let me see if somebody. I have two early college students. Yes, yes, and yes, you're yes, exactly. So that's very good. I'm glad that you've got the. I'm very glad about that, right? Yeah, exactly. It's really important that they're doing this, right? Like, I wish we could have had that. I mean, we kind of had those opportunities, but it's nowhere near. It was nowhere near as evident as it is today here. But let me show you all just a really quick story about these high school college classes, because that's actually the reason why I became a college professor in the first place. So let me show you all just a quick story. So before I became a professor at STC, I was in the security department. I used to be that annoying guy that would put the boots on the cars, like if you didn't pay your tickets. Like, no lie, I actually did do that. So I used to do that, right? I used to be the one to write the tickets, right? I used to, so please make sure you get your permits if you're parking on campus, because they're pretty strict. But yeah, I used to be that person that would like boot your car if you had too many unpaid tickets. So that's what I used to do many years ago. That was my first job at STC. So obviously, of course, working in the security department, we had events that we had to cover, right? So one of the events that we covered was the STC graduation. So so I was over there, working security, working the graduations, confiscating, blowhorns if anyone was using those. It's pretty fun to do that also. But the point is that what I noticed is that I saw that there were high school students that were graduating college, and they were getting their associate's degrees even before they would get their high school diploma a couple of weeks later, right? Because the high schools end in late May, early June, whereas STC ends in mid-May. So you had this unique situation where these students were college graduates even before they were high school graduates. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I want to do that. I want to become a part of that. I want to help with that. So that was the day when I realized, you know what, I want to be a college professor. There was also another time where I was doing some like security work in Building J, and I was checking on the AEDs, the automated external defibrillators, and checking the fire hydrants to make sure they weren't expired. And then I was going through all the offices, and I was like, you know what, one of these days I want to have an office here. And then a few years later, it happened. So I was very, very thankful for that. But yeah, I just want to share that story with you all really quickly. That because of these high school dual classes, that's why I wanted to become a professor. So I'm glad I'm here today. I've been here for 5 years already, and I'm very happy about that. So The issue that my college age children are running into is that they phase out of the Texas grant because, yeah, I know that's yes, that's follow the money, right? That we'll definitely talk about that more so in Texas government, because in Texas government, that's where we talk about the state budget, and we talk about which coincidentally right now the state legislature is meeting and they have a surplus. So now they got to figure out what to do with it. I mean, I would say pay the teachers more, but I'm not the one making those decisions, but it is what it is. So, but yes, you are right that some of these decisions do come down to money, and unfortunately, sometimes it might not necessarily be the best decision, right, in the best interest of the students. I'm sorry about that. This thing fell over here. But yeah, no, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I mean, money is always something that if it's not the top decision maker, it's at the top. So, but I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so let's kind of go ahead and continue here a little bit. Okay, so anyway, so with that being said, we kind of got off track here a little bit. Um, so I'm not going to have like on-campus office hours this semester. Instead, it's going to be online, which is right after this class. So like I was saying earlier, if you all have questions, or let me take a drink of water really quickly. This is really cool that I get to do this from my house. I do like this. I do like working remotely. We were working remotely when the pandemic was going on, and I kind of missed that. So it's nice to at least be able to work remotely 2 days out of the week. So anyway, so after the class ends, I'll have my virtual office hours. So if you want to ask questions, afterwards, you're more than welcome to do so. Um, let's see, and then of course it says, if you've got it, if there's any issues, obviously of course, come talk to me. Um, I know you all really don't know me yet, so I kind of don't like saying like that I'm like really chill. I mean, because I mean, it's one thing for me to say it, but then, obviously, actions speak louder than words. But what I do want to express to you all is that, I will definitely try to work with you all as best as possible. I'm not this type of professor that is not going to be flexible, because I'm a student myself. I understand how difficult it can be to be a student, and I'm sure a lot of you all are working also, right? Some of you all may even have like families and things like that. So I understand life gets in the way. I understand. I'll be honest with you all right now. Um, Government 2305 should your life should not revolve around this class. Okay, this is just a part of your life, but I do not want for you all to make this the epicenter of y'all's universe. Okay, this is just a college class. It's important, but there are more important things in life. Like your family, your health. I need to take that in my own advice sometimes when it comes to like how much I work and things like that. So the point I'm trying to make here, everyone, is don't feel like, let me see, somebody type something on the chat. No work with lots of kids. And yeah, no, it's, well, I mean, kids can be work. I mean, I don't have kids, but I know how, all my friends pretty much all have kids. I'm the only one that doesn't. And so it's definitely something that I understand definitely can take a lot of y'all's time. So with that being said, I just want for y'all to know that I understand that you all have other priorities. Definitely do make this class a priority. But again, I don't want for you all to like feel like, oh, like I can't go work out, or I can't go do my exercises, because I gotta do all this work in this class. That's another reason why I don't assign too much work in this class. I've taken some professors where they'll assign like papers and papers and papers. Like last semester, I had a class where we had to read a book per week, and I was like, oh my god, really? Like, is this really necessary? Like, it was just, it was a lot. It was a lot, and so, um, I mean, so my point is that I just want for you all to understand that, definitely do make this a priority. Your schooling is extremely important. I mean, you all are here for a reason, right? I mean, you all are. I don't think anyone is here taking this class because you all are political sciences, science enthusiasts. I mean, there might be some political science majors here, but I think most of you all are probably here for a different reason, right? I think you all are here because it's a requirement, right? I think that's why everybody's here, because it's a requirement, where if you want to graduate from STC, I mean, not just STC, right, but any 2-year or 4-year institution in the state of Texas, we have, the basics, right? You have to take all of these specific classes, right? So government is one of those. That's why I'm very happy to teach government, not just because I enjoy teaching it, but because it's a requirement. So I'm never running out of classes because everyone has to take these, right? We get everybody. So that's kind of a good thing. I also have a criminal justice background too. Like I said, used to work in security, used to be a correctional officer. So I also can teach criminal justice, but they hired me for political science, which I'm thankful that they did, because criminal justice is not required. Excuse me. It's one of the most common majors. It's one of the most popular ones, but they still don't get near the amount of students that we do in this department. Our department, we're a staff of about 30 something. There's a bunch of us. So, there's tons and tons and tons of classes for us to teach. But anyway, so with that being said, I just wanted to just mention really quickly, everyone, that, like I said, I'll be, my office hours are going to be at the different high schools because I'm going to the different high schools. And of course, I also have the online office hours. But again, if anything comes up, please talk to me first. And if we can't get a resolution, then, we can talk to my good friend, Mark Murray, who's the new chair. He's really chill. But again, if come talk to me first, and I promise you, we'll square things away. We'll come up with a mutually beneficial decision that, for all of us, right? We'll reach a consensus here. Okay, so for the core objectives, don't really worry too much about these because you're going to demonstrate this within the class. You're going to demonstrate critical thinking skills, communication skills, personal responsibility, and social responsibility through what you do in this class. You don't have to be like, oh, I just completed this assignment. I demonstrated critical thinking skills, because that's evident, right? It's going to be hard to pass a college class without critical thinking skills. You have to do that already. You're going to have to use communication skills in order to communicate with each other and to email me and to talk to me, as well as your personal responsibility to do well in the class, to make those to connect those choices with decision making, and as well as social responsibility in terms of taking what you've learned in this class and applying it to why this is important for society, so to speak, right? So again, these are things you're gonna do in this class inherently already through the things that we learn and the assignments that we complete here. Okay, now let's get to the part that everyone's been waiting for, right? Okay, let's look at grading. All right, now grading in this class is pretty straightforward. I don't have a lot of work for you all because, again, as I mentioned, this is a 2-year college class. I've got some colleagues where they're assigning like papers every week, and I'm just like, dude, like this is not grad school. Like, but anyway, it is what it is. So, but with that being said, so let's just kind of be straightforward in terms of what the requirements are. So there's going to be 3 tests. Okay, so 30% of your grade is going to be for tests, exams. Each exam is worth 10%, equals up to 30%. So this is I have the grade weights kind of spread out here amongst exams, discussions, quizzes, and the signature assignment final project, because I don't like to have a situation where let me ask you all this question. Let me ask you all another question really quickly. So have any of you had a class where, and I've had a class like this many times, grad school is pretty much always like this. Thankfully, the class I'm taking is not like this. Have any of y'all had a class where there's only like 2 or 3 grades the entire semester? There's like a midterm, a final, and like a research paper. Has anyone taken a class like that or no? You don't see that too much in community college, but I know in universities you see that a lot, where your grades are only based on just a few grades. Nobody's okay. So Emily says yes. So okay, so you got the thumbs down. Why are you not a fan of that style of grading? If you don't mind me asking, which you're not alone. Most people don't like it, but why do you not like it? Or anybody else? Why, what do y'all think about that style of grading, where you just have a couple grades and that's it? Or does anybody like that? Some people do. I've run into a couple students that have like that over the years. But for the most part, people don't like it. Why do you all seem to not like it? Is there a reason? It's harder. Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's harder because there's a lot more pressure to do well on those grades because, if you fail the midterm, you're pretty much done. that was the way it was for a lot of my history grad school classes, where one of our professors, um, he's a fantastic professor. I adore him, Dr. Thompson. He's awesome. But one thing that was very stressful was because he would not have too many grades, right? He would have like just a couple of grades. I think we had like 4 grades, like a midterm, a final, a research paper, like in a project or something like that. So so what happened was that, if you failed the midterm, you pretty much were done, right? And I do remember there was one time where I was like sick before the midterm. I think I made myself sick because of all the stress. So I had to go take the test, like really sick. Thankfully, I got a B on the test. But it was something that was rather stressful. I'm pretty sure I stressed myself out. But yeah, this class is not like that, where it's going to be, pretty spaced out with all these different assignments here, right? So 30% of your grade is going to be for quizzes and assignments. 20% is going to be for discussion board participation. Now, let me also take a little bit of time to talk about this. Um, there's not going to be a discussion every week. There's going to be just what are called unit discussions. So because we've got 3 units, there's going to be 3 unit discussions. Now, those first 2 discussions, I don't know if y'all have seen this. Let me show this to y'all really quickly. If you go here at the front here, not at the start here, but have you all seen these already? Have you all seen the introduction discussion and the syllabus understanding and acknowledgement? Have you all seen these yet or no? Some of y'all have seen them already. Okay, all right. So make sure that you all complete these by Sunday, because this is what I'm going to use to mark attendance for this online class. I don't know if you all are familiar with this, but STC and all institutions, the federal government makes it mandatory. Okay, we're talking about government. All right, okay, first thing here. The federal government makes it mandatory for higher education institutions that get financial aid. It makes it mandatory for the colleges and universities to submit attendance reports to the government, because the government is, so let me ask you all. Some of you all are on financial aid, right? I think some of you, I got financial aid too. So you all will know how financial aid works, right? You don't just get that money for nothing, right? Obviously, of course, you have to go to class, you have to be working. Okay, this is yes, right? So you all know that there's requirements for financial aid, right? That you have to be going to class, you have to be working on a degree, you have to meet that SAP, right? The satisfactory academic progress, right? So the way the federal government is able to determine whether you are meeting satisfactory academic progress is that they make the colleges and universities turn in attendance reports, right? So I have to turn in these attendance reports based on the work that you all do in an online class, right? Since we don't meet in person, the way attendance is determined for online classes, that they have to complete some sort of assignment. So these are the 2 assignments that I need for y'all to complete by this week, because next week I have to turn in those financial aid attendance reports, right? So that's why I have them do this Sunday, and it won't take too long, because these are very, very simple. These are very simple assignments here. Uh, Let me show the intro one really quickly. So it's just basically where you're introducing yourself. Okay, I've got a few responses already. Good. Some people have already gotten to it, right? And then there's a quick question, right? It's just a basic question. If you were a professor required to give a grade to the federal government, what would it be, right? So I'm basically interested in seeing what you all think about the federal government. Like, what are your thoughts on government in general, right? Like how would you evaluate the federal government? Oh, I'm sorry, I need to put United States here. But anyway, that's fine. I'll change that later. Um, but yeah, that's basically what the question is asking, right? Just kind of evaluate the job that the federal government has done. Explain what grade you would give them, and explain why as well, right? So that's the introduce yourself, and then the second one is just the syllabus understanding and acknowledgement. All you have to do here is just put right that you've read and understand the syllabus, and yeah, that's all. Yeah, everyone's doing it correctly, right? So just put that, and then you're fine. If you do these 2, you'll get a good grade on this, right? Because this is pretty easy, right? So it's also a good way to get you off on the right foot, so that you all can have a good grade starting off here, right? So make sure that you all complete these. Later on, when we get to the unit discussions, and of course, I'll take some more time to go over this. I mean, I'm gonna go over it right now, but I'll also take some more time to also go over this right now here. Make sure that when you're working on the discussions, that you adhere to the requirements. There's word length and sentence length requirements. Let me explain how this works. So For the unit discussions, and for the unit discussions, what you're going to do is now. Let me also mention to you all really quickly that for those first two, don't worry about these word and sentence requirements. These are just for the chapters. Okay. So once we get to the chapters, then you're going to be following this. So the way it works is for every discussion question, you have to make at least 3 total posts. Okay. You have to respond to the question, right? You have to try to answer the question, then you have to respond to 2 other classmates. Make sure that the first response where you're answering the question that it's at least 200 words and must be at least 5 sentences. The response to your classmates is a little bit shorter, right? It's just 100 words at minimum, and again, at least 5 sentences, right? So make sure that you meet these 2 requirements, okay? So, and the reason why we have these requirements here is because it would be very difficult to try to answer these questions without going into more detail, without doing at least 200 words, because some of these questions, they're not difficult, but they're going to require, it's not just a simple yes or no. You have to do some critical thinking, right? Just like we mentioned right now with the objectives here, right? You're gonna have to do some critical thinking. Like the first question discusses, which kind of constitution would you prefer? Would you prefer a short constitution that's open to interpretation, which is what our current U.S. Constitution is, or would you prefer like what Texas does? And Texas has a long, very specific constitution, which doesn't really allow for too much interpretation. So, there's no right or wrong answer to that. But it's not enough just to say which one you prefer, right? You're going to have to go into detail and explain why you prefer it. Let's see. What if we are very opinionated? Well, it can't hurt you. You'll certainly, that can only help you, right? So, but yes, definitely for sure. I mean, if it takes a while for you to get to the point, that's fine because I read really fast anyway. But just make sure that within that long-winded response that there is a point to it. So as long as there is a point, you should be fine. I'm not going to be like like get on with it or something like that. Like from Monty Python or whatever. But no, don't worry about that. As long as you actually like make your point, that'll be fine here. Okay, anyway, so let's continue here really quickly. So does that make sense in terms of the requirements, right? Make sure that there's 3 total posts. First response, 200 words, 5 sentences. The other 2 responses, at least 100 words. Okay, so and again, and it also says these are not mutually exclusive requirements. What this also means is, let's say we have someone who's the opposite of you. Let's say there's someone who maybe doesn't really elaborate. No. I meant to say no. No. Actually, I take that back. I said it wrong. No. Let's say there is someone who does say a lot of stuff, but they don't really get to the point, right? So let's say they don't get to the point. Then you have to keep going, right? It's not enough just to say, you know what, I did my 200 words and that's it. What if within those 200 words you didn't really say anything, right? And the reason why I mention this is because I've had situations where students will they'll turn in like a paper where it's 2 pages long, but they didn't finish all of the requirements. So then they'll say, well, yeah, but the requirement was 2 pages, and then I go back and I tell them, yes, but you didn't answer all the questions. In grad school, I would do this, right, where our professors would assign us like we would have like a weekly paper we had to do, like it was like 2 to 4 pages, and I always ended up doing like 3 to 5 pages or 4 to 6 because yeah, I am kind of long-winded, right? Where I would get to the 3 pages and I'm like, well, I still have 2 more questions to answer, so I'm not just going to turn it in like that, right? Because I haven't completed the assignment. So make sure that you still complete the assignment, even if you have to write 400 words, 500 words. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes, right? So make sure that that you all definitely do that. So to say thank you, Ellen. You made my point exactly for me, exactly. So okay, anyway, so then the 30% is going to be for the online quiz and assignment. So every week there's going to be a quiz here. Let me show you all really quickly here. If you go to the foundations here, which let me also mention to you all really quickly that everything is open already. So I've got all of the sections here open, so you all can work ahead if you all want to, right? We're going to start on chapter 1 next week, but if you all want to skip ahead and you all want to work ahead, you're more than welcome to do so. Every module is going to have I also have a lot of resources in here, right? So I guess we're kind of doing both. We're kind of going through. I'm kind of walking all through it as well as going over the syllabus, right? So within every chapter, there's a lot of resources, right? There's the introduction, the overview. There's the PowerPoints. I've also got outlines here, some flashcards. I also have some previous lectures that I've recorded for previous semesters, so you can watch those as well. This is great if, let's say, you can't make the meetings. You can also watch these as well. I've also got other lectures from other professors. These are also pretty good. These are from Dr. Tom Patterson. He's a professor at Harvard University. He's got some really good information here as well. Now, let me also mention to you all really quickly. This is something that does need to be mentioned because I did have a student a couple of years ago where they said, "Sir, why do you have so many videos? There's a lot of stuff in here. It's a lot of work." And I was trying to explain to them, it's not mandatory. You don't have to go through all this. This is all not mandatory, okay? So please understand it. You do not have to watch every single thing that's here, okay? I also have the crash course videos. These are also really good, right? So if you don't have like a lot of time to sit through all of this, I would recommend to watch these. And it's okay if you don't have time. I don't have time either. On Monday I was watching the Cowboys game from the park because I had to do my daily exercise, because I didn't have time to go earlier in the day. So I get it. We're all busy. So if nothing else, then at least watch these because these are pretty short and they get to the point here, right? These are a little bit more long-winded, right? I mean, I'm very long-winded in these, because I'm doing an actual lecture. But if nothing else, if all you have time is just for this, then watch the crash course videos. They are very helpful. But as you can see here, there's a chapter quiz, right? So every week is going to be the same, right? It's going to be the same type of layout, the same type of resources, and then at the very end is going to be the chapter quiz, right? Now some chapters are going to have a little more resources than others, and again, and every week is, of course, it's going to be a different content, right? So next week, so not next week, but the week after, when we get to chapter 2, we're going to be discussing the U.S. Constitution. So I've got, as well as the Declaration of Independence, so I've got the actual documents, the audio books there, as well as some more of these videos here. And then, of course, as you see, scroll to the end, and then that's where you'll have the quiz, right? Okay. Now, do make sure, everyone, that you turn these in, by the due dates, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to access them. Because if I click on here, you'll see. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. If I click on it, that shows it. So you can see here that it prohibits late submission. So make sure that you turn it in when it's due. Okay. Now, on the flip side, a benefit that you all will get is that you're going to have multiple attempts, right? So you're going to have 2 attempts for the quizzes, and the attempt that's graded is going to be the one that with the highest grade. So it's not going to take like I know some professors, they do that where it's like, you the grade for the second attempt. No, I'm not like that. It's whatever the highest is. So this is for, like, if, let's say, and please don't be alarmed if this happens, because it's even happened to me. Blackboard is very glitchy. There was another, okay, I'm sorry that I keep sharing all these stories. There was another incident that happened several years ago where I ended up getting a C in the class because my professor told me that he didn't get my final paper, even though I did submit it, and it showed the green question, not question, but the green check mark on my screen. So it said that it submitted it, but then my professor came back and said that he never got it, and the guy knew that he didn't get it, and he didn't tell me anything during the last class period. So you can probably think, you can probably figure what I think of him, after doing that. But anyway, but to make a long story short, he changed the grade, so I got what I wanted. So, but I'm just saying that sometimes that happens, right? Blackboard is very glitchy. I've used other LMSs, and Blackboard is probably my least favorite of the LMSs, but it is what it is, right? It's what SSC uses. So with that being said, this is also for that, right? So if, let's say you've got a situation where you're working on a quiz and then it kicks you out, or the internet stops, sometimes that happens, right? Don't panic, don't worry, you have another attempt, okay? Or if for whatever reason the internet didn't kick you out and you turned it in, but you didn't like how you did, then you could always try it again, right? I mean, if, let's say, you get a 70 on it, right? You can try again, right? That you can't lose anything, right? You have nothing to lose except maybe a little bit of time, but but I would say it's worth it to try to get a better grade. So so again, so there's 2 attempts. So there are strict deadlines, but there are There's also 2 attempts here, right? So this is what a typical week looks like, right? As you can see in chapter 3, more of the same, right? You've got your resources, and then all the way down here is the third quiz here. And again, and remember, these are things that are not mandatory to watch. I also have more additional resources. So every chapter is also going to have their own additional resources. So it's the same ones that you all saw out there, but you can see that there's more, right? You see how there's a few more resources. So you can look up these as well. So there's extra resources for y'all to take a look at if you all are interested in, some things don't make sense. If you need to look at some other stuff, you're more than welcome to look at these resources as well. Again, they're not mandatory, they're optional, but they're there for you all if you want to look at them. So this is pretty much in a nutshell how the class layout is going to look. So does anyone have any questions on that so far? Does that make sense in terms of the class layout? Okay. All right, good. Okay, because I know we're already running a little bit out of time here. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so then the last bit of grading that we have is for what I like to call a signature assignment here. It's also a final project. There's different names for it. Basically, it's a capstone project. I don't know if you all have heard the phrase capstone project before or anything like that. Let's see, some of y'all have, or okay. So okay, you know what a capstone is. Would you like to explain to us, to the class, what you think? I'm sorry. What so I just had lunch a little while ago. Um, what is a capstone project in your words, Ella? What do you think? How would you describe a capstone project? Because I know it doesn't look like anyone else is familiar with the term. How would you describe it? I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. If you don't want me to put you on the spot, I won't do something. I just wanted to know if you would like to share. Um, it's like the most important assignment. Okay, so that is true. Yes, it is the most important assignment. It encapsulates what you've learned. Yes, you're exactly right. Yes, that's perfect, right? Because what it does is, as Ella said, right, it encapsulates everything that we've learned so far in the class. So all of this here that we're going to learn here, you're going to demonstrate that within this signature assignment, right? So the signature assignment, what it is, it's basically a mock letter. You don't actually have to send this, although you're more than welcome to do so. If you do send it, please don't tell me that Professor Mr. Gonzalez made you do this, because I'm not. You all can do this on your own if you want to. I have had some students actually do send it, but again, this is just for academic purposes. Let me see. But the point is that I wanted to make here is that what you're going to do is you're going to pick any of the members of Congress who represent Texas, right? So either of the 2 senators from Texas, either Ted Cruz or John Cornyn, or any of the U.S. House members. I would recommend, if you're going to pick a House member, if it's like a local issue that you're concerned about in your local community, then it definitely would behoove you all to pick your own, House member, whether it's Vicente Gonzalez or Monica de la Cruz or Henry Cuellar. Those are the 3 representatives that represent down here in the South Texas area. Again, you don't have to, but if it's a local thing, you're more than welcome to do so. But if it's another national thing, you could also write to some other members of Congress, as long as they represent Texas, right? They have to be from a district from Texas, right? So that can include House members like Colin Albright, the former Titans player. He's up in the Dallas area. Sheila Jackson Lee in the Houston area. We've also got Lloyd Doggett in the Austin area, as well as Greg Gassar. He's actually a friend of mine. He just got elected to Congress, from the Austin area as well. So you're more than welcome to write to any of those people. But what you're going to do is you're going to pick a topic here. So if we're placed on a government, well, that's why I would. Yeah, then maybe that's an incentive not to send it, then, right? But no. This is just for academic purposes. This is totally for academic purposes. So I don't think we should. I don't think we'll get in trouble. Plus, yeah, no, I think the government is. I think they're busy like watching other people, right? Or I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, as long as it's just for academic purposes, that's all it is. So with that being said here, and I'm going to give you all more information on this, right? So what we'll do later on in the semester is we will take some time in class to actually go over the rubric that I have, go over the actual signature assignment description. I'm going to go over it in greater detail. so that that way you all can have a better understanding of what it is. Now, I do need to caution you all that this assignment usually does get the most questions from my students. It's not that it's hard, it's not difficult. It's just that it does require some outside research. It requires a lot of steps. The rubric does have several steps to follow. And it's something that is going to, it's basically like a research essay, right? It's not a paper, so to speak. It's more of like an essay. It's kind of like a research essay with some research paper elements, right? So it's kind of like a hybrid, right? It's not quite an essay because it is going to require extra research, but it's not quite a research paper, so to speak. It's kind of like a combination of the two. So with that being said, uh, and we'll talk more about it, as we go through the semester. But for now, what I want y'all to do is I want y'all to start thinking about who you're going to write to and what constitutional issue, what political issue you want to write about, and then also look up what solution. Yes, your inner Karens. Yes, exactly. Yes, be a Karen for good. Exactly. Which okay. Sometimes that happens to me too. I'll check the email right now after we're done here. Yes, so in a nutshell, the signature assignment project is broken up into three parts, right? You're going to pick your U.S. House or U.S. Senator from Texas. You're going to pick a issue that you want to bring to their attention, a federal constitutional issue, and then you're going to come up with a solution, a constitutional solution to this issue. Okay, so kind of be thinking about what it is that you might want to write about it. And this is not going to be due till the end of the semester, so you got plenty of time. Okay, let's see. Textbook We the People, 13th edition. So make sure you all are able to get that. It's in the class already. It's listed in there. It's a baby blue book. Let me also mention to you all that I also have included as an extra resource the OER book. That's not the official book that we're going to have in this class, but you're more than welcome to also use that book as well. So that way you all have, some options. I know money is tight for a lot of you all, unfortunately. That's why you all are here in college, right? Because you want to make more money. So, it's totally up to you all in terms of what you all do, but just know that officially we're going to be using the 13th edition of We the People, but I've also included the OER book as well, the Open Educational Resources book. That one is free, so you're more than welcome to use that as an additional resource. But just know that we are using the official textbook we're using is We the People. So it's totally up to you all in terms of how you all want to handle that. It is, since it's your money, it's your all money. Okay. Again, student learning outcomes. This just goes a little more detail. What we're going to be learning. There are since this is a web-based class. There are certain technology requirements. Make sure that you've got a working computer and things like that. Also make sure that your computer is able to use the Respondus lockdown browser because the tests do require that. It is STC policy that any online class that administers tests online has to use the lockdown browser. Have any of y'all used that before? Have y'all used the okay, so Elda asked, do we absolutely need the textbook? Well, like I said, that's the one we're going to be using. But as I mentioned, I have included the free textbook as an extra resource. So, if you feel that that's good enough for you, then you're more than welcome to to that. You know what I mean? So it's your decision in terms of how you want to do that. But just know that the official textbook we're using is the We the People 13th. But I do have that extra OER book as a resource. Now, let me ask you all this question again. So have any of y'all used the lockdown browser, the Respondus lockdown browser? I'm assuming you all have if you all have taken online classes, right? I'm assuming you all have. Yeah, so then you all know how it works, right? You all know how it is. So make sure that you have a working computer that can handle it because not all the computers can handle it. So make sure that that your computer is capable of doing so. Okay. Also, netiquette really quickly. So because this is an online class, definitely go through the netiquette here. Just basically what netiquette is basically how you conduct yourself in an online setting, right? To ensure, especially in the discussions, right? We need to make sure. Basically, to sum this up, this is not going to turn into Facebook, okay? It's not going to turn into Facebook. We're not going to be trolling each other as fun as that might be for people. No, this is an academic setting. You want to do that on your own personal time on Facebook. We're here to be respectful. We're here to, you don't, now, when I mean respectful, that doesn't mean that you have to agree with everyone, okay? It's okay to disagree. In fact, it's a good thing to disagree. If everyone just agrees with everybody, then that we don't really learn anything, right? We don't look at other perspectives. We don't look at different ways of seeing the world. I mean, everybody sees the world in a different way, and that's totally understandable, and it's okay, and it's actually good because there is not one person in this world that has lived your life exactly the same 100%, right? We've all gone through different things, and so it's important for us to bring those experiences and to bring those thoughts and opinions to the class, right? In fact, I welcome it, right? I want for you all to express yourselves. I mean, feel free to disagree with me as well. I mean, I don't, let me explain. One of my favorite sayings is, you don't have to be a political scientist to have a political opinion, right? I mean, all those people commenting on Facebook, they're not all political science majors. They're not all political science professors. I mean, if they were, then I wouldn't have a job, right? Because there'd be too many of us. But right, you don't need to be well versed in politics to have a political opinion. Now, the difference here, though, is that because this is an academic setting, I'm going to expect you all to back up what you're saying, right? And in the discussions, that's what I expect for y'all to do. When you're answering the questions, I don't want for y'all to just give your opinions. Yes, that's good. It's good that you all give your opinions, but you also need to back those opinions up from the readings, right? So depending on what your opinion is, I expect for you all to provide evidence from the chapters, right? Because that is the whole point of the discussions. The point of the discussions is to show how well you learned the material and how well you can apply it within these discussion questions. So make sure that when you all are working on the discussions, that you reference the readings, right? That you mention, those concepts from the readings, right? Don't just be giving your opinion. Does that kind of make sense? That yes, you're going to give your opinion, but not just your opinion, right? I expect for you all to also back up your opinion with what you have read in the chapters here. So yeah, so definitely go through the netiquette here in terms of how to conduct yourselves when it comes to emailing me or discussing with your classmates and things like that. Okay, so I know that there's the mandatory attendance policy, and this is more so for in-person classes, but and like I said, like I mentioned earlier, just try to be here as often as you can. Attendance is not going to be counted against you all. Student code of conduct. This talks about plagiarism. Just make sure that you do not engage in plagiarism because there are severe sanctions that STC can place on you, including being expelled from STC. So just don't do it. Don't even go there. This class is not going to be so difficult where you're going to feel like you have to plagiarize because again, I don't assign that much work. I know English classes are different, but here, and which makes sense, right? Because that's their whole point is to write. That their class is predicated on that. We all have opinions, but yes, that's exactly right, Hillary. Yes, exactly. Make sure that because this is an academic setting. I know in Facebook people don't have to do that, although I expect that from people. That's why I have removed a lot of people from Facebook because. Let me share one more story, and then I know we're already running out of time. So I had this one, just one last story. So I had this one guy a couple of years ago who was really giving me a lot of grief on Facebook and was basically disregarding my opinion. And so I said to him, "All right, dude. All right, okay, fair enough. Okay, got it. You're entitled to your opinion, but let me ask you this question: when was the last time you were on the news giving your opinion?" And that shut him up because it's one thing to disagree with me, but it's another thing to go after me and to discredit me when I have been on the news and I have contributed, to the media when it comes to my political opinion because of my credentials. So that was where I drew the line. I was like, you know what? No, dude, no. You can disagree with me. I'm not saying that I know more than you or whatever. I'm just saying that you cannot discredit me because people actually do care about my opinion and people don't care about yours. So anyway, but to make a long story short, so I'm just saying that let's not have that, okay? Let's not have that. Let's just be respectful of everyone, understand where everyone's coming from, and we should be good. And again, I'm not like that. It's just that guy really irked me, But anyway, I had to defend myself because he started. Anyway, okay. So and then I ended it. Okay. So let's see. Anything else? Just the instructor responsibilities. I'll definitely help you all out as much as I can. Shouldn't your argument that you had the credentials, not the fact? Well, I mean, let's see. Shouldn't your argument had been that you had the credentials to offer an informed opinion? Well, okay. So yes, I could have worded it a little bit better, but the reason why I had to say it that way was because I had to throw a zinger at him. Because he was coming after me in a passive aggressive way. So I wasn't going to be all super like nice with him because he was the one, right? Because if we were just having a if we were having a respectful conversation, yes, I would have worded it exactly the way you worded it. But because he was being passive aggressive with me, I had to kind of be like the way I was with him for that reason. Because you're absolutely right that the reason why I'm on the news and he's not is because of my credentials. But I wasn't going to word it that way to him because of the way he had worded it with me. Because that's how I am. I'm not someone that I mean, if you come after me, I'm gonna go after you too. I mean, you started it. So you can dish it out, but you can't take it. I mean, that's um, anyway, but it is what it is. So let's just kind of leave it at that. But yes, no. Well, I mean, if you're petty to me, I gotta be petty back. So anyway, so because unfortunately, there's a lot of pettiness in this world, and people are gonna get taken advantage if you don't kind of throw it back at them. But anyway, it is what it is. Okay, so anyway, so this is just kind of like so I'm sorry everyone. I don't mean for y'all to like kind of get this like bad opinion about me. It's just that and that's why sometimes I get off of Facebook because Facebook sometimes it irks me because of how people are. But anyway, so this is the topic outline here, everyone. So but yeah, so and again, also note that this is subject to change. I mean, we're already going to have to change it because we're not going to cover chapter 1 until next week. So we're probably going to have to push everything back a little bit. So yeah, we're probably going to already have to change it a little bit. So we'll start on chapter 1 next week. Okay. So does anyone else have any other questions or comments or anything before we end for today? Does this kind of make sense, everyone? First, you and forgive us. Yes. Well, I mean, I do try to forgive people, but sometimes it takes time. I mean, we're not robots. We sometimes it takes time for us to process our feelings and for it not to hurt so much. But anyway, so does anyone have any other questions before we end for today? And sorry if I kind of went a little bit into like philosophy and things like that, um, but no, look. But to be honest with you all, look, I will definitely help you all out as best as I can. I'll definitely be able to do what I can in terms of helping you all be able to succeed in this class. And like I said, I understand that online synchronous class might not necessarily be something that you all are used to or maybe even wanted and things like that. So I understand that just try to show up as often as you can, everyone. Okay, so all right, everyone. So if there's no other questions, then we're going to go ahead and end for today. So what I want you all to do this weekend is for sure finish up those two discussions. Try to get a head start on chapter 1. I know some of you all, if you haven't ordered the books, it might take a little bit of time. If you want to read through the OER already, you can do so. Just kind of familiarize yourself with chapter 1 because we're going to start on chapter 1 first thing when we meet again on Monday, everyone. Okay, so thank you all so much. We're going to have a really good semester. Please email me if you have any questions. And thank you all so much. Take care. Be safe. And if you all want to watch the recordings later on, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, they'll be housed here in the Blackboard Collaborate. Okay, so y'all take care. Be safe and have a good weekend. We will see you all on Monday. Okay, you all be safe. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.